right, I haven't been on the island in months, so I'm gonna go pick up Honey. I hope she's excited to see me. God knows I'm very excited to see her. Man, crazy. Oh, so excited. Oh, so excited. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So she's going to sit on that porch and decide, who does she love more? Who is more worthy of you?
Who is it, Honey?
Who is your beloved owner? Is it me? You love me? Yes, you love me. Come on, say it, honey. Honey, come on. Come to Toby. Come to see, she's coming to me.
No,
Here,
there's a cliff
come
between.
to me.
Yay.
No, look,
No,
oh,
no.
Come here, honey. But
No,
she's
no,
touching.
no,
See,
but
look,
you
oh,
touch-
she's literally
honey,
forcing
no.
her hand.
so full of it.
She loves me.
Okay.
She loves me way more.
All right, well, too bad you're still coming with me.
All right.
Alright, well, the shop is a disaster. I've been gone for months, and yeah, there's a lot of cleanup to do, so I think I'll just start there for now and try not to get overwhelmed. Just clean this up. I think it's probably pretty important I downsize a lot. We're a little tidied up in here. Still got a lot of work to do, but this guy came in while I was gone. Pacron sent out this other battery pack, so you know the drill. We're going to open it up, we're going to test it up, and I'm going to tell you guys who this is made for, because there's a lot of these battery packs out there, and I'll show you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let's get at it. Okay, right away, great packaging. You see the sealed up zippers? Already I'm feeling like this is going to be an outdoorsy type of battery pack. Ooh, I don't know if I love this. Unbox! Alright, there you go. One battery pack. So first we're going to plug it in, get it charging, and see if it's got pass-through power, because this thing's rated for 600. So let's see what we can get it to surge up to. So I just put this iron, this 1700 watts, overloads the system. And it ran it for about, I would say, 2 or 3 seconds there before shutting it down. So, okay, the overload protection works. But it definitely isn't doing pass-through. The charging is sitting in a consistent 270 watts. By my calculations, it should be able to go a little bit higher than that. But we're not seeing any, pass-through power, and you're not going to really get that when it's an external brick like this. This is a 600 watt-hour battery pack with 1200 watts of inverter capability, pure sine wave. You've got a nice quality set of USBs with actual 100 watt USB-Cs, and you've got 2 different DC inputs for different ranges. You've got your 12 to 18 for standard automotive, boat, whatever voltages, and then you've got your higher volt setup, which runs an external power brick, which is large and clunky and has its own cooling fans, or you can wire it up to a solar cell using MC4 connectors. And yeah, it uses this bizarre 5-pin connector, which I haven't really seen on any other battery pack yet, so that's interesting. So there's some weird choices they've made across the board with this. Wireless charger up top, that's normal, and the build quality is fantastic. This plastic is not flexing, it's very dense, and they've managed to squeeze all the features of some of these other packs that I've reviewed in a smaller form factor. So it's quite dense and quite small. So if space is a concern and price is a concern, you ought to be looking at this thing. Now, who is this for? Well, I'll say the 1200 watt max is nice to have, because there are quite a lot of small appliances that you use that burn exactly 1000 watts. So coffee makers, 1000 watts. You might have a lot of residential appliances, like very just small countertop stuff, that will burn 1000 watts. Now, the bigger, heavier duty ones will always go up to a full 1800 watts, but they're not going to work on this. So you're going to really want to check the appliances that you want to use. Of course, laptops, computer, your television, stuff like that, they'll all run on this, no problem. But that's not really a concern. Of course, you can charge your drone and your phone and your tablet and all of that through the USB as well. Case for the cabling is really well made, feels fantastic. The body of the box itself, really great. These nice big fat rubber feet in the corners, very confidence inspiring. I feel like I could bang this thing around and it's okay. The air vents are visible and quite open, but they're halfway up the box. So if you were to set it down and a puddle got through it, there's nothing at the bottom for the water to get in. And I'm not seeing an overabundance of seams along that bottom bit, but I assume there are some. It would be interesting to find out if they're caulked or not, because keeping water out of a device like this is very important. The inverter is usually quite exposed. We've had some of them fail in the past from ocean spray and stuff like that. So I will say I'll give it like a good 7 out of 10 on the environmental stuff. It's a good showing, a good attempt, but there's definitely room for improvement. This power brick, wonky. And I feel like most of the power packs have now left external power bricks in the past, so hopefully they will as well. This is kind of a generic one. I think you can buy this exact type of charger straight from eBay. It's going to show its limitations pretty quickly, but at the form factor and the price, you know what you're getting. You know, there's some bigger ones on the market. If you really want to do everything, then that exists as well. And Pacron sells a few of those, so hopefully I'll get the chance to review them as well. But for this particular application, I would say this is going to be a very good mass market battery pack. This is going to be applicable to a lot of people. There's nothing really that strange about it, bizarre about it. It's small, it's tight, it's going to fit in most places. I really don't see it not being applicable to most people, so long as they don't want to run a full 1800 watts and so long as they don't need gobs and gobs and gobs of capacity, because 600 watt hours will only get you so far. If you're interested in checking it out, the link is in the description. We're going to go beat the snot out of this thing, and yeah, if it breaks, I guess I'll fill that in now, but it looks pretty solid to me. Okay, it's been a long time since I posted that video about the Power Queen battery that failed on me, and I ripped it open to see what was going on with it and found the failed BMS. And since then, I've heard nothing from them. So we're going to rip the second battery apart, and I ordered a nice quality Dolly BMS. It is rated for the same amperage as these BMSs are. The only difference is that it's wired up to run a 48 volt battery instead of a 24 volt battery. So first things first, we're going to rip into this thing, pop the lid on it, get the cells out, and we're going to wire them up to our new BMS and give it a test. Feels kind of bums me out a bit to rip into a functioning battery, but I need this battery back and operational. And if that means I gotta rip into a $1,000 battery, well, it is what it is. BMS modules make a world of difference. If you get a good BMS module, you can reuse it after cells go dead and get to use it again and again. Now, BMS modules, unfortunately, are usually kind of permanently set up for whatever voltage settings you've got. So if you're, I was setting up a bunch of 48 volt batteries, but they use lithium ion batteries, so it was a different chemistry and different voltage parameters, so I'm not able to reuse any of those voltage controllers or BMS modules for a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is what I'm doing here. But you get to see, like, this is a cheap BMS So it's got multiple nodes. Instead of one heavy duty node, it'll have multiple spread out here because they could put thinner material down to handle the amperage, and kind of dissipates the heat a bit by spreading it out. But it's not even. You know what I mean? When you do this, it never comes out perfectly even. Like the resistance on this cable is going to be more than the resistance on this cable because this one's longer. There's barely any cooling. We've just got one aluminum plate here. It's like maybe 2 mil thick, but that's it. Whereas the Dali one, first of all, smaller, single point terminal. The whole thing is sealed, so it's actually waterproof. Very not waterproof. It's got hardware mounting points here, 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 and here, so you can bolt it solidly, not just tape it down, but actually bolt it to something. And proper heat dissipation on both sides. Huge chunk of aluminum there. So you're going to get much better performance out of these. I've been using the really small Dali BMS modules in all my cells before now, but I did originally buy some cheapies. Now the price difference was like nearly 100%. Some of the really cheap ones I was doing, you can get them down as low as like $25-30 for a little BMS module for my lithium-ion batteries. But you're playing with fire there because they did catch fire. We also have a Bluetooth module. We have temp sensors. We have even an LED and a CAN bus connectivity, so I can even have it hardwired to Ethernet if I wanted. This one is wired up for 48 volt, so I'll be able to control every cell in both of those batteries, combine it into one battery, and let's see if it fires up. Okay, well, I've got some really good news. First of all, I've been kicking around this toolbox for ages. Alpen toolbox. I think a grinder came in this, and it just so happens that it fits the batteries perfectly. It's a double-walled plastic box. It's actually going to be pretty much, well, it'll probably be better than what I had before, and it has a handle on top. So as long as I use some of the old foam to kind of stuff it all into the right place and then tape everything down or glue it down, we're pretty much golden. So the next thing will be to connect the BMS up to this setup. You might be wondering, but Simon, how do I do that? Because there's so many wires and it always looks so confusing, and I open up, I look at a battery and there's microchips and wires and it's all very confusing. It's not. Every BMS comes with a BMS, like a cell sensor wire. This particular one plugs into the bottom like this. The Dali ones are always all red with one black. That makes it very easy. So you connect the black cable to the negative post of the negative most cell. And then you want to just think about it. Every wire after that is testing for the voltage difference jump from one cell to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, right? So you start at negative, and then you go up one cell, and you go up another cell, so on and so on and so on. So with this particular arrangement, the bus bars are actually welding the cells together, which is unfortunate because it means that if I ever have one of these cells go bad, I'm going to have a damned of a time getting it out. I'll probably have to cut that off and then bridge it with a new setup of some sort. But so far so good. All the cells are good, so we're just going to work with what we've got right now. I'll connect this black wire to the negative most post, and then the next red one on the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Sometimes they give you a wiring loom that has all these different colors, which makes it easier, but this is, I've noticed, the kind of the standard red and blacks. And then we got the one it came with, which was all white, which is, in my opinion, the worst possible setup because it means that it's really easy to lose track of which wire you're working on. So now it's just a matter of making it as clean as possible so that you can zip tie all of the wiring down and make it super clean and orderly, so that then you can seal up the box and never look at it again, which is unfortunate, but we do it for the gram. right, so now we got the wiring done. What do you think, Barry? Does it smell like success?
Tastes sparky.
It's the heat shrink. So I put a watertight heat shrink on every one of these terminals. Pro tip, if you're gonna do this, first of all, you should start on the negative end on like if you've got two separate batteries like I do, making it into one. Start on the negative on one and then start on the positive on the other and work your way towards the joint, because I made a mistake and thought for some reason I saw a terminal here and a terminal here and I put one on each, whereas these are connected by a big fat wire. These are the same voltage, right? So like I didn't need to, and as a result all of these wires were too short because I only noticed halfway through, and I had to only put one bridge connection. But still, doesn't, like, this side doesn't look as good as this side. That makes me sad. But that's okay.
This is trash over here.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just pull the lid shut and then never look at it again. So I'm not too upset about it. I'm a little upset, not too upset. But before I connect the sensor wire to the BMS, I want to make sure, now the BMS should have like a balancing mode, but I want to make sure that we're close on all the cells. And if we're not, then I'm gonna put like a little charging thing on here. However, I just checked all of the cells and we're all at 3.22 across the board. So looking good.
Yeah.
Now the next job is to connect it. So we can do that.
Do it.
Ugly case, it weighs a lot. These batteries are lightweight for what they are, and the fact that this is 5 kilowatts hours is doesn't make it that heavy, but it's definitely heavier than a regular lead acid battery. And yeah, it's gonna be fun to carry this thing around. Luckily I won't be doing much of that, but we're gonna go install this in the boat. I just have to wait for my terminals to come in. So jump to that, get the terminals on, and we'll get this running. They're kind of nice. They come with like a hand tightened bit for the stud on the outside and a couple of bolts for the inside, but unfortunately they're kind of long. So I was like looking at where I could install them. I'm pretty much limited to just this wall. I can't put them here because they'll fit, but then I can't get the nuts off. And you always got to get your nuts off, so that's important. So I'll put them here and then we'll wire up the rest and get to using this battery. All right, and that's it. We got our two major terminals. We got our BMS all in there, all the wires tucked in, all the foam locked in. We got two of the flimsiest hinges in the world to try and support 100 pounds worth of batteries. Okay, it's probably not like actually 100 pounds, but it's not light. Okay, ignore the huge mess, but I've deactivated my entire lithium-ion pack, and we're gonna switch over to just LiFePO 4 now. Go Gadget, explosion. Okay, there's some work to do in that cabinet. Putting 35 amps on one SolarCharge controller. I think I'm just gonna keep one running for now. And then I don't know if I want to like get really close to its maximum charging voltage just yet. I just want to check over the other systems, get the inverter running. And it's always stressful when I'm powering up a new setup first time, just because my system's kind of big. And some of these gauges, some of the amounts of amps flying back and forth, it's a lot. And it can cause some real damage real quick. I got breakers all over the place and switches and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just a lot. You know, truth be told, probably wasn't the best idea to put the electrical batteries underneath the wood stove, underneath this leaking stovepipe. I never had any problems because of it, but it was a problem coming down the road for sure. And then I'm also thinking about the motors back there. Sorry, it's a really big mess here. I gotta clean up. But we've had loads of issues with those batteries over the years. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully this is not one of them. But we're just going to watch it for now and just see how it goes. But I'm really thinking that this bench here might make a good spot to rack up some batteries, build a little shelving, kind of have them ready and accessible if there's ever any issues in the future. It also keeps them well away from the bilges. And yeah, they're a little heavy, but they're not the old lead acids. I mean, the weight is like, I think that box is about 80 pounds or 90 pounds. And yeah, that's some weight, but that's not a crazy amount of weight to have on my bridge. And I'm pulling out a few 100 pounds of weight here. So we'll see how it goes. This way it's as close to the motors as possible. So those motors are gonna pull 300 plus amps. So it'll be good to have a nice thick gauge on those, and that'll save me some money not having to run that quite so far and quite so thick. But yeah, lots of cleanup and repair here. But at least I got a battery working, which is great. Wish I could say the same for these. Look at this one. Completely exploded. This one's is that a Dolly? Or is that a Dolly knockoff? I think that one's a Dolly knockoff, unfortunately. And I might have over amperaged it. That's probably what happened. Whew. Anyway, it's hot today, so it's nice to have electricity again.